Government and hospital pharmacists say it will from 21st March withdraw services to patients under the National Health Insurance Scheme. Illegal miners now encroaching restricted forest area with dire consequences to the environment will speak for the Forestry Commission on measures to tackle this menace. On the foreign front, Ivory Coast says it will send Charles Blay, a close ally of the ex-president Laurent Gbagbo, to the International Criminal Court to face charges of crimes against humanity. Details of our headline stories and more coming up over the next hour with me, Kemini Nyamani Amano, on News Today. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Hello and welcome to News Today. Now, a life has been lost in an accident on Jowulu Junction section of the N1 highway. Some 25 others were injured severely. The accident involving 6 vehicles occurred about 9:45 a.m. Friday, causing heavy vehicular traffic on the highway. Personnel from the Ghana Fire Service, Red Cross and Police Service arrived at the scene to restore order and take the injured to hospital for treatment.
Me ban me kita speed think am be overtake am snap and the one me braking me car no me say me brake into me brake the one me say 4x4 na hwe 207 and a sprinter na afosro na white can so ba ne tua enso so to na so say me yes me twama e bia babo me mebo brake ti nyankopon bo am me bo brake na manim pepepe na 4x4 no abeto manim na car ne tie hwe so. In the one I'm seeing, I'm sure that me team friend comfortable. Me here say me patrol my boy na man for the America.
Tell us about this accident.
Yeah, about 40 to 60 minutes ago, we were called to the accident scene. That's some road crashes involving about 4 cars had occurred. So we from the Red Cross, the ambulance, the emergency service rushed to the scene. By the time we came, almost all the victims have been evacuated to the hospitals. So we just heard the information that there was only one driver who got dead because the head was smashed. So yeah, there was a throttle with passengers about 15. Even when we came here, we have managed to treat one person and send the person to the hospital. So about we can say about 20 people were involved, but virtually nobody is dead apart from the driver.
We were on our way to our usual Friday morning inspections, and we have a project here we needed to inspect. But right from Jowulu, we noticed that the traffic was not flowing. So we sent our dispatch to go ahead and find out, and he came back to report that there was an accident. So we quickly had to get here, and when we got here, there were multiple cars involved, about 6 cars involved. Apparently there was a vehicle on the other side, which apparently whatever happened, we don't know, but skipped off onto this lane, ran into 2 or 3 vehicles, and the attendant result is what we have all seen. Our point was first to get everybody to the hospital. The ambulances were here on time, the police was here on time, fire was here on time. We mobilized everybody.
The Environmental Protection Agency says it will soon introduce exhaust emission standards to rate the country's roads of smoldering vehicles. The exercise, according to the head of the Environment and Quality Department, will help reduce the public's exposure to a high concentration of particles emitted from smoking vehicles.
Most motorists may not be aware of the dangers they pose to people's health when their vehicles churn out poisonous exhaust fumes on the streets. These emissions, which are byproduct of exhaust systems, contribute to air pollution and are a major ingredient in the creation of smog. But this, the EPA says, will be addressed with the enforcement of standards that will check the exhaust fumes emissions from vehicles.
We need to know why there's a need to put in place this standard. What are the health implications? What are the environmental implications? What we need to do to safeguard our environment. Currently, we are developing what they call a roadmap to vehicular emission standard and fuel economy. So, knowing that the sulfur content of our fuel is particularly high, together with the NPA and other stakeholders, we're developing this roadmap.
Dr. Edukumi admits that although the standard is long overdue, an intensive stakeholder meeting is ongoing to ensure the standard is soon implemented.
You need to have a measure to know that these are the levels of pollutants that are being released from the vehicles. Without that measure or that standard, you cannot enforce any law. We have to ensure enforcement, compliance. It's very important. We are bringing the thing on the board for strong discussion. So at the end of the day, what we put out there is like a consensus that has been reached, that this is what we can put out there at the moment. With time, we push it higher. So once we are bringing these stakeholders into play, we expect that we will still go to have the dialogue or interaction with them to make sure that we are achieving the desired results.
He adds, with an effective collaboration with the Driver Vehicle License Authority and the Motor Traffic and Transport Division of the Ghana Police Service, a baseline for checking the menace will be developed and motorists found culpable prosecuted.
As a matter of agency, we are going to push it forward so that in the nearest future, that standard will be in place. And that one, when it is ready, it means that it becomes enforceable. Now, we can have the DVLA having their roadworthy certificate, also including the levels of emissions. The regime will be such a way that there will be penalties. It means that you have to pay and then go and repair your car. And then if you pass it, then you put on the road. But if it's such that it's go way beyond our minimum, that means that you are going to be banned from even going to be on the road.
He further added an intensive public education would also be rolled out. Matilda Pamaga for Joynews, Accra.
Illegal mining is posing severe challenges to some communities in the country. The miners are now gradually shifting to restricted forest areas, which have dire consequences on the environment. Illegal mining is a major source of income for people living in these mining areas. They work by digging pits close to the mining enclaves of big companies. But now, a new trend is evolving and people are beginning to exploit land for mineral wealth in protected forest areas. Let's find out how the Forestry Commission is dealing with this situation. Kujo Awudu is Corporate Planning Manager at the Forestry Commission. He's here with me. He's here with us in the studio. Thank you very much for joining us for News Today.
Thank you.
So now illegal mining activities are taking effect in very restricted areas. Which areas are we looking at?
We are looking at some part in the Upper East region,
okay,
the Western region, and the Eastern region mainly. And most of these areas are also the source of our rivers for protecting, producing water for drinking water for the society, and especially Acquah, which is producing.
I was hoping you were going to give us names of maybe some towns or forest reserves.
Yeah, we have Acquah Forest Reserve, which is suffering so much. Acquah Forest Reserve is in the Kibi area, which is Densu River is so polluted that the cost of treating water in country is going up, and the water is fed to about 60% of people in Accra.
But are these areas really new areas where the mining, illegal miners are now venturing into?
Yeah, they are new. The reserve was set up to protect the sources of 3 major rivers, Densu, Brim, and Pra rivers. And before, about 5 years ago, we didn't have any mining in it. But suddenly we find them going there because of lack of an area to mine. So that is a new thing to us, and that's why it's a challenging. And you can remember how the president asked us with a special task force to flush them out.
Okay. And how has that worked so far? Flushing the people out.
So far we've done well, but we've flushed almost everybody out. But people then go in the night, whilst our people are away. So we've set up what we call another team called the rapid response, which we have equipped them with guns, because the people come with guns to flush these people out. So that's what we are doing now. But this is a short term. In the long term, we are trying to involve the communities. We are also going to use modern technology. Currently, we are working with the Switzerland people from the Swiss to introduce what we call intrusion detection mechanism, where we can watch the people intruding on forest live 24 hours. And
so some sort of a surveillance system.
Surveillance system. To grow. Otherwise, we may lose the battle. So we want to introduce that knowledge, and by next week, the team is arriving in Ghana to tackle most of this, to put in place a surveillance system.
Right. Thank you very much, Kujo. We've been talking to Kujo Awudi. Kujo Awudi is Corporate Planning Manager at the Forestry Commission. He's been bringing us up to speed how the Commission is looking into tackling the illegal miners who are venturing into very restricted areas here in the country. Let's move on to something else now. The Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association last month threatened it will, from today, March 21, withdraw services to patients under the National Health Insurance Scheme. According to GOSPA, its intended strike follows the failure of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to pay its members their conversion differences after migration onto the single spine salary structure. National Chairman of GOSPA, Stephen Kokwe, said his outfit has made efforts to get their concerns addressed, but cannot endure the neglect of their demands. Let's move on to something else. And the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service from May this year will prosecute all drivers operating at unauthorized lorry terminals. All such drivers, the Director General of the Department, ACP Anguntobe Awone, says, have until the end of April to relocate. Though the notice is meant for commercial transport operators in Accra, officials say the operation will eventually be extended to the various regions.
The proliferation of unauthorized lorry stations in the various capitals has become a nuisance, causing serious vehicular traffic congestion and inconvenience to other road users. Bus stops, curbs and street corners have all been turned into lorry parks. The situation has been blamed on gross indiscipline on the part of commercial drivers whose actions impede movement and free flow of traffic in the capital.
If you look at the statistics, they give us areas where people are being knocked down. The first place is when they are crossing. Two are areas where, within especially the cities, where people are supposed to get the free flow of, they have to be able to cross freely, but vehicles are impeding their movement.
The tiptoe lane near the Kwame Nkrumah Circle in Accra is one such typical case. Two stations have been sighted on both sides of the road, and the floating commercial vehicles, popularly known as Wawa, along with the station's vehicles here, are responsible for the chaos. Similar unapproved stations can also be identified around Paloma and Las Palmas near the new plant station. They, however, seem to gain legitimacy once city authorities start taking tolls from them.
I have no my permit to operate, but I say I have no quantity. All my want to say, 10 be an ancestor packet cars and a man a bear car quan hoopy. All my market baby and my packet could do. By had a permit, all my permit. Every year you be renew mine until they all permit a year. So far, the almost 330 Ghana cedis for a month. At the end of the year, no one work.
At the Road Managers Stakeholders Forum, the issue of shops taking over lorry parks, garbage also occupying half of the road, and permits issued by city authorities were raised. The AMA representative could not readily provide answers as to what goes into the siting of lorry stations in the metropolis, but indicated the assembly would address the issues raised. But the Motor Traffic and Transport Department is going ahead nonetheless once its notice has expired.
And so we are giving them up to the end of April to find a place. Otherwise, I'm directing all MTU to be all out, all the jurisdictions. And let me assure you, don't get afraid of anybody. Go all out, do your duty as an MTU officer. But like the IGP said yesterday, ensure that you are attached some professionalism to the way that you handle the drivers.
Other stakeholders also pledge their support in enforcing and ensuring sanity on the roads.
As an operator of public transport, you must be duly licensed. So your operation must be licensed. The vehicle you use within the transport operation must be licensed, and the driver must be licensed. That by the end of this October, we will be in a position of licensing public transport operators to operate and be identified. And we're going to do this in liaison with the metropolitan authorities.
Meanwhile, city authorities have also been tasked to provide permits for operating lorry stations at acceptable places. Yafusia Jemfi, Joy News.
Right, and I'm joined in the studio by DSP Alexander Obin. He's in charge of training with MTTD. Thank you very much for joining us here on News Today.
Thank you.
How prevalent are these illegal lorry stations?
No, it's obvious across the country in all metropolitan, municipal and district assembly areas. If you use Accra, for example, I don't see that at all junctions on major arterial roads. You see taxi ranks all over, and when you approach them, they show to us a permit issued by either the metropolitan or the sub-metro or the municipal assembly heads, and it's a clear infraction on our road traffic regulation.
Okay.
That inciting taxi rank or terminals and stands among other places. I think the traffic police in the area need to be consulted so that in all these, whatever that is constructed should not, as it were, compound our problem with regard to public health and safety. And so, and already in the law, vehicles are not supposed to be even stopped at junctions. So we think that more has to be done, and the transport operators rely on the authorities, including the metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies, and then the road engineer, and to ensure that adequate and safe and spacious bus terminals and taxi stands are provided to facilitate their movement, including route registrations and all that. So we thought that this has needed to be discussed at the stakeholder at that level, so that we all understand, so that institutions that are responsible for provision of road infrastructure and such public places do their work, so that police will also be free to direct and control traffic in the interest of public health and safety.
I see. So what's the plan?
The plan is basically to identify, to point out the emerging problem, the magnitude and the scale, and to give a timeline so that we will exact on the rule law. Basically, that is, and we first want to be proactive, and that's why we had that meeting. At the next level, Director General said at the end of April, we'll be very reactive to dismantle these illegal taxi stands and lorry terminals that may even have a permit from the local assembly. And so it's consistent with the rule law. That's what we want.
Do we know, say in the capital city, do we know how many of such lorry stations we have?
Oh, yesterday there were a lot mentioned. For instance, at junctions, for example, if you are on the N1 or on the Winneba Road from, let's say, Kanishi, right to Odoko and all that. We have some at Sakaman and Dansoman Junction. We also have some at Dakuman and Kwashiman. The Kwashiman Santa Maria N1 crossroad. We have as many taxi stands and stations, and we were all marveled that on a road and at the shoulder of the road, we will turn that place into a taxi and issued such a
the other problem is the fact that some of the lorry stations claim that they are full. They can't accept any more cars. So when you send these cars off the road, then what happens?
I think we are all in this one. I think police cannot say we are not part, because our personnel will also suffer and will be exposed to danger if first lorry stations and terminals are sited at wrong places, and all Ghanaians. And we thought that when you look into the Local Government Act of '93, clearly the Assembly has a responsibility to provide safe and efficient transport services, and in it we are expected to construct, like I said, spacious and safe transport terminals and taxi stands, so that police will also control and direct traffic. And so we thought that in land demarcation, land use, and all that, we have agencies under the Metropolitan Municipal Disaster, including what do you call land? I don't know these. I don't know. We have I don't know. It's not land commission, but we have survey departments among other agencies under that create accesses and demarcate lands and ensure that lands are used properly, particularly for built-up areas. And we thought that places should be allocated for terminals before even people start to build. And this has to do with the assembly and not police. But when public roads are constructed, that places are not supposed to be used for terminals and taxi stand, and that we want to see lay-bys and bus stops for people, for drivers to pull over and quickly move on. And we think that the assembly cannot rely on the road that we are managing and issue permits for operators to use as taxi stands.
DSP, let's move away quickly from lorry stations and talk about your personnel on the road. I'm happy you're here because recently the police launched this operation No Bribe, and you're wearing a badge. I don't accept bribe.
Yes.
So your men wear this one, and then we expect them not to accept bribe.
I am part of the men, and we have discussed it over and over again here that bribery and corruption is abhorred by Ghana. When you look into the generally the criminal. Let
me narrow down my question, because there's very little time. What training are you giving your men so that the badge is not just a dummy? And they are actually not accepting the bribe.
Police officers are aware that they are not supposed to be collecting bribes.
They know, but it's happening.
And I'm saying that is criminal. And a lot have been either dismissed or removed from the service or interdiction. And some have been facing court actions and all that. So for us, Inspector General of Police has taken in administration a step further, proactively. Very soon, Police Safety Training School is going to be established. That will, in addition to the Winneba one, we have that trains the personnel on the job in terms of senior police officers. We're going to have another safety training school that will target all the men. I mean, constable right up to the chief inspector in terms of the capacity building on the job. And some of these things are going to be targeted. But we think that even that police officers who are supposed to be above far in terms of moral standard, are aware of the criminal code, and are aware of the consequences.
We'll leave our conversation here. Thank you very much for passing through news today. DSP Alexander Obeng is in charge of research and training at the Police MTTD. Let's move on to something that's happening now. And Assembly members of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly say they will resist any attempt to have the mayor Alfred Oku-Vanderpoy removed. Majority MPs have called for his sacking. Mike Ligia Fusua Jemfi joins us over the telephone. Hello, yeah.
Similar on a.
Hello, yeah. Hello, yeah.
Hello, Kamini. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What more can you tell us about this?
Okay, Kamini, the assembly members of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly just held a press conference, and they said they want to set the record straight about the removal of the mayor of Accra, Dr. Alfred Oku-Vanderpoy. They said that yesterday, Patrick Boama, a member of parliament, moved a motion that the mayor should be removed, and they are saying that they are going to resist any attempt from anyone who is calling for the removal of the mayor from office. They are saying that they find this motion unfortunate, and they think that the member of parliament, Patrick Boama, should have even been part of the assembly, and which is against the LI, which say that should be part of the assembly's meeting, which they have refused to do so. And so if they are not coming for their meetings and should rather call for the head of the mayor, then they find that incident or that statement as unfortunate. And so they are going to resist any attempt by any body who would want the mayor to be removed from office. Kemini. Hello, Kemini.
Thank you very much, for that update. And a quick correction, it's minority MPs, not majority MPs. On that note, I'll take a quick break. I'll be right back. Don't go away. Thank you very much for staying on News Today. Now, European Union says it has concluded discussions with West African countries on the Economic Partnership Agreements. Now, this means that from next year, countries will be required to gradually open up the economies to imports from Europe without the required duties on them. However, goods like rice and sugar would attract the necessary taxes. Speaking at a meeting with newsmen in Accra, head of EU delegation to Ghana, Claude Martin, says the agreement should be seen as the best way for continuous access to the EU market. The ambassador's comments appear to be in sharp contrast to the recent decision by West African ministers to engage various interest groups before signing the full EPA. Government has no plans of lifting the ban on the inland importation of rice following the outcry of local importers to lift the ban. Deputy Trade Minister Nilante Vanderpoy told Joynews Today the ban will help government track the amount of rice coming into the country and ensure the economy accrues the needed revenues.
There has not been any ban on importation of rice. What is in place is a restriction of importation of rice to 3 main ports: Tema, Kotoka, and Takoradi. So in order for us to be able to know and to track the amount of money we are spending on rice and how much rice we are importing into the system, that will give us an idea, the data, as to what we have to do in order to also produce more to improve upon our revenue, because we are spending a lot of money in importing rice. So if we know how much rice we are consuming as a people, then we'll be able to produce or inject that sort of capital into the production of that rice, so that we reduce our dependence on for imported rice. That is one issue that we are doing. It's to be able to make us, because as a country, it's difficult for us to right now, if we have all these our borders open for rice to come in, we are not able to really get the true statistics of how much rice we are consuming, how much rice is coming to the country, how much we are spending on the importation of rice. So that's what we want to do basically, but not. But it is a desire of government that as much as possible, by next year, next 2 years, we'll increase our local rice production to about 85%. We are hovering around 60% now, but we think we can go to 85% by next year. And government strategically wants to start something this year. We are going to improve upon our irrigation systems, and we are going to make sure that we galvanize the rice farmers in order to produce more, in order to feed the domestic market, and possibly, who knows, by in 5 years' time we'll be able to be self-sufficient in rice and even export rice.
Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, Nielante van der Poel, says government in its newly adopted national export strategy is set to establish craft villages across the country to boost exports. Speaking at the launch of the 14th African Handicraft Fair in Accra, he indicated that the existing arts and crafts markets will be rehabilitated under the strategy.
The 14th International Arts and Handicrafts Trade Show of Ouagadougou, CIAO 2014, provides the opportunity for trade in handicrafts across Africa. Ghana, as a guest country for this year's fair, is hoping to double its volumes of trade with Burkina Faso from the 2012 figure of $203.4 million, which was up from $98.1 million in 2008. Organizers say this edition presents a wide variety of artistic expressions of African creativity and skill Ghana should take advantage of.
This year's edition will notice a major innovation, which will be the increase in the number of the stands. About 550 stands are going to be put in place so that the craftsmen may meet with new artisans from all over the world. Burkina Faso is a country which is well positioned in the area of business. So craftsmen, in order to make things easier for them, so that in the area of handicrafts, we will see how they can better cooperate with all the artisans, especially from the sub-region and also from other countries.
For Ghana, the fair presents an opportunity to improve on the handicraft industry, whose contributions to exports have dwindled in the past 5 years.
The type of handicrafts that Ghana mostly produces need some innovations. You know, from Tete, from way back, the same Acquah dolls and so on and so forth may not be the most saleable items in today's consumer market. People now are looking for handicrafts that combine a number of things. So we're going to be engaging some consultants who work in this area. We're also going to be giving our National Association of Handicraft Exporters, which is the primary organ dealing with the handicraft sector, the opportunity to attend fairs where they can maybe pick up ideas and also pick up some business. But this fair that is going to be held in October, November in Burkina Faso is a big opportunity for our handicrafters. We hope they take advantage of it.
Government, meanwhile, admits the lack of sustained investment towards the needed infrastructure in the handicraft sector has contributed to its decline.
It is the ministry's dream and the president's vision that we are able to complete all the craft villages before 2016. The idea is that when we have a concentration of craftsmen, master craftsmen at one particular place, then we are able to give them the machinery and equipment they have, so that they all will have access to the equipment. On their individual levels, they are not able to get the sort of equipment they need in order to have a best and good finished product. The government is pumping a lot of money into Petwe this year. The land acquisition, everything has been done. There are a lot of technical work is being done now with the drawing designs and everything. Bolga. We're also going to work on Ebri. We started. We're going to improve upon Ebri. We're also looking at Kumasi and Accra. Abrafo also is another place.
The CIAO 2014, which is under the theme African Handicrafts, Women Entrepreneurship and Social Promotion, comes off between 31st October to 9th November.
The Ghana Stock Exchange opened the week with market capitalization of 58,771.7 million Ghana cedis, and market capitalization reduced to 58,558.41 million cedis on Thursday, March 20. Let's get more on this from David Acquah, who is a researcher with the Gold Coast Fund Management. This time he's not here in the studio with us, he's over the telephone. Hello, David.
Yeah, hello, Kamini.
It's good to talk to you again, except you're over the telephone. But
yeah, over the telephone. I was just watching you.
Tell us more about trading today.
As you rightly said, the Ghana stock market is not seeing the best of its performance. The capitalization dropped from about 58,771.70 million to about 58,558. So you can see clearly from the capitalization that the market within the span that we are reporting, that is Monday to Thursday close of trade. Also looking at the main indices, that is the composite indices, you can see that the composite index year to date as of Monday was 11.99, but by the close of trade yesterday was down to 11.21%. So you can see that the broader market average was also down in terms of returns, with the financial stocks index also dropping to 18.18% from a Monday of 20.04%. The Google's all share index also closed, dropping some points, and it closed the day at 11.56%, with the dollar adjusted index now measuring a year-to-date depreciation of 6.65%. So then, you can see clearly it's not a good news for investors. And as we've been saying earlier on, the performance on the Ghana in the Ghanaian economy, especially the depreciation of the cedi, is one of the factors affecting the performance of the equity on the Ghana stock market. Because looking at some of the fundamentals of the listed equities on that market, you can see they really have the potential to yield so much to investors, but yet they are dropping on their prices.
We'll leave it here for now, David. Thank you very much for your time. David Acquah is a researcher with the Gold Coast Fund Management. Now, Fitch Credit Rating Agency has issued an AAA rating with a stable outlook for the United States. Fitch made the announcement Friday, saying the new action resolved the negative watch the U.S. received in October. The agency noted that last year's U.S. debt ceiling crisis had not negatively affected U.S. bond yields or reduced foreign holdings of Treasury securities. The agency said the U.S. economy is one of the most productive, dynamic and technologically advanced in the world, underpinned by strong institutions, a favorable business climate and efficient products and labor markets. Bankrupt Japanese firm Gox said in a filing that it has found 200,000 lost bitcoins. The firm said it found the bitcoins worth around $160 million in an old digital wallet from 2011. That brings the total number of bitcoins the firm lost down to 650,000 from 850,000. Gox, formerly the world's largest Bitcoin exchange, filed for bankruptcy in February after it said it lost thousands of Bitcoins to hackers. That'll be all for business, but there's sports with Baba Tando. Don't go away.
Good afternoon, I am Baba Tanda with the latest in the world of sports. Katsi Carvel. Now, the Minister of Youth and Sports, Elvis Afiye-Anko, says profits to be made from Ghana's participation at the 2014 World Cup will be used to fund other sporting concerns. The Minister also set the record straight about monies realized from the nation's participation in two previous World Cup appearances from Germany and South Africa.
In 2014, we are being innovative And we have proposed that we use the money looking at our peculiar circumstances. So we use the money, part of it for development of other sports and other infrastructure. The Pram Pram Soccer Center of Excellence is an FA and a football, facility. So it's also going into football. But I think that people should even be commending the FA. Rather than saying they'll be rigid and say, look, by the rules, this money is for football. So football at all costs. So I think that we look at our peculiar situations and we become innovative, looking at our current circumstances. Everybody knows that the other sports do not attract so much funding. Yeah.
We move away from the local scene. Now, Andrea Pirlo was the inspiration as Juventus moved into the last 8 of the Europa League with a 1-0 win at 10-man Fiorentina. Still on the Europa League, and Rafael Benitez's hopes of his second successive Europa League title were ended as his Napoli side were knocked out in the last 16 by Porto. Benitez won the trophy with Chelsea last season, but the Portuguese champions stood to draw in Naples and a 3-2 aggregate win to eliminate Napoli. Tottenham exited the Europa League despite staging a second-half fight back against Benfica that put them close to taking the tie to extra time. That'll be it for sports on News Today. My name is Babatando Ketsi Carbell. Now, the news returns shortly and goes to the international front after this break. Do stay on.
Thank you very much for staying on News Today. After sports, let's check out news from elsewhere. Ivory Coast says it will send Charles Blé Goudé, a close ally of ex-President Laurent Gbagbo, to the International Criminal Court to face charges of crimes against humanity. The ICC, based in The Hague, Netherlands, said in October it had issued an arrest warrant for Blé, who headed the Young Patriot Street militia during Gbagbo's presidency, for his alleged role in violence after a disputed 2010 general election. The ICC again says it would work with Ivory Coast government to arrange Blé's transfer to the court's detention center. Blé had previously asked to be tried by an Ivorian court and not sent to The Hague. Nick Kaufman, Blé's defense lawyer before the ICC, said the Ivorian government's approach to justice was arbitrary and politically motivated. And as on entertainment, jackets worn by George Harrison and Ringo Starr in the Beatles' 1965 film Help have fetched £150,000 at an auction. Meanwhile, a piano used by Sir Paul McCartney and John Lennon was bought by a South American collector for £57,500.
Let's just have it completely silent for 1 second while I say, the Beatles!
Baby's good to me, I know she's happy.
Ringo Starr's cape fetched £61,000 sterling, while Harrison sold for £54,000 sterling, including buyer's premium. Harrison and Starr wore their jackets during 5 days of filming Help in the Alps and on the accompanying album cover, and they were sold to UK buyers. Meanwhile, a piano used by Sir Paul McCartney and John Lennon was bought by a South American collector for £57,500 sterling. The 1907 Bechstein grand piano was used to compose the tracks Help and Yesterday. The piano and jackets were sold by Richard Lester, now 82, who directed Help and the Beatles' first film, A Hard Day's Night. The piano, meanwhile, came from Twickenham Film Studios, where it was situated from the 1930s until Lester purchased it in the late 60s. The auction took place at the Adelphi Hotel in Liverpool.
Our headlines again: government and hospital pharmacists to withdraw services to patients under the National Health Insurance Scheme. A person killed in an accident on the N1 highway involving 6 cars. Illegal miners now encroaching restricted forest areas. Ivory Coast says it will send Charles Blaise Goudet, a close ally of ex-President Laurent Gbagbo, to the International Criminal Court to face charges of crimes against humanity. Thank you very much for staying through the hour and through the week on News Today. Find more news on myjoyonline.com. Have a great weekend. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amano. Goodbye.